see if we can't find the stream. Shouldn't be too far away, hopefully. There it is there, currently loading onto the channel. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. There we go. Game it. Audio is working as it should, that's good. The stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. That is absolutely fantastic. Well, hello everyone and welcome to round 5 of the PlayStation America series here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event, and this time we're racing at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix. Constructed in 1991, this 2.9 mile, 16 turn circuit isn't exactly one of the most popular racetracks on the calendar. Due to its high speed nature, dirty air is quite noticeable, and as a result, following and passing the car in front is somewhat difficult. Because of this, the real life reputation of Barcelona isn't very good, and it's often regarded as one of the more boring races of the season. Fortunately, in the virtual world, that isn't so much the case. Over my time as a commentator, Barcelona has created some very interesting, action-packed and dramatic races. There are a few decent overtaking spots, the main ones with DRS down the main straight into turn 1, and down into the newly configured hairpin sweeper of turn 10 that makes its debut in F1 22. There are a few hazards that the drivers have to be mindful of during the race, such as the nasty inside curb at turn 2, the incredibly fast right-hand sweeper of turn 3, and the horrible, cumbersome chicane of turns 14 and 15. The main area of concern, though, in races past, is the incredibly high-speed right-hander of turn 9. A single mistake there usually proves to be incredibly costly. Now, before we focus on qualifying, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race in Miami. It was only a single incident report involving KD and Motion God. KD was pinged with a 5-second time penalty for quote-unquote an illegal overtake during a safety car period. We managed to catch that on stream. And the steward's verdict was a time penalty removal. And as a result, KD would jump up from P9 to P5 in the final results. In the Drivers' Championship, Nico is leading the way on 99 points, followed by Mighty Wombat in the McLaren on 81, so 18 points separating the top two. JBH is third on 76, followed by race winner from last week, Axis, on 63. Rounding out the top 5 is KD 1997 on 56 points. Next is Rafa on 54, P7 is Easy Rider with 38, then SC Collider on 36, then Captain Schmeg with 30, Sir Jake rounds out the top 10 on 24. In the Constructors, McLaren are leading with 137 points. They have got a 38-point lead over AlphaTauri. They're on 99, so a very, very healthy sized gap between P1 and 2 in the Constructors. Mercedes are P3 on 93 points, followed by Williams on 84. Rounding out the top 5 is Aston Martin on 79. Red Bull Racing is next on 58, followed by Alpine on 46. Then Ferrari on 34, Haas on 27, and Alfa Romeo on 12 points at the bottom of the table. Well, that's pretty much all the news out of the way. We can now focus on what should hopefully be a very interesting qualifying session. Hello ACW, hello Bags. Nice to see you two in the chat. Barcelona, as it's proved in both Pacific Elite and Pacific Tier 1, 2 races that I've commentated, qualifying has been incredibly close. So hopefully we see something similar today with the America Series as Blockman jumps to the top with a 1 minute 17.464. Rebellion making his way around turn 4 up towards turn 5. Got quite a few drivers on their first flying laps. Motion God has invalidated. KD is making his way around turn 12. Coming out to that newly configured hairpin sweeper of turns 10 and 11. Sort of half follows the original layout as Black Baller has had a moment at turn 4. And we got a Aston Martin off the racetrack. It's Flavius at turn 3 spinning out, but he's rejoined very safely. Gets going again, no obvious damage from what I could see on the Aston Martin as KD jumps to the top with a 17.091. He's currently 3.5 tenths in front of Blockman in P2. Shizen takes off on the flying lap, and tell you what, we're going to ride on board with the Red Bull driver, give you a guided tour of this racetrack. Into turn 1, big braking zone here, down to 4th gear, through turn 2, and around the long right-hand sweeper of turn 3. You have to be careful here with how much steering input you put into the car, because the back end does like to step out on you through that corner. Around turn 4, 4th gear, coming out of 5th gear, 6th gear, up towards turn 5. A potential overtaking spot if you get a nice run through turn 4, but generally speaking, it's quite tough to pass that. Around turn 6, into this tricky complex, turn 7 and 8. Be careful of that yellow sausage curb on the inside, very, very nasty sausage curb there. Around turn 9, very tricky corner, uphill, edge of grip, high speed. Very easy to make a mistake there. Around turn 10, like I mentioned before, the newly configured part of the racetrack. Around turn 11, probably the most insignificant corner around the racetrack. Around turn 12, up towards turn 13, heading down the hill into the worst chicane in all of motorsport. Turns 14 and 15 here at Barcelona. I hate them. I cannot begin to describe how much I hate those two corners. Out of the final corner of turn 16, Shizen will cross the line to set an 18.3. Goes 5th quickest at the moment. Raf yet to set a lap time, and he's invalidated that flying lap. Guitar Hero currently last on the board. He's on a flying lap, making his way around turn 13, down the hill into that chicane of 14 and 15. Not too many chicanes that rival how horrible that chicane is, other than maybe that new chicane at Miami, and what used to be the Singapore Sling on the original Marina Bay layout in Singapore. But yeah, absolutely horrible complex. It's a butchering of what that section used to be on the original layout. Funny thing is, they added that chicane in after a motorcycle accident. And now, MotoGP use the old layout. They use the fast 2 right-handers at the end of the layout. They don't go through a chicane anymore. But here in Formula 1 world, we still go through that chicane because reasons. I can't give you one, to be honest. Motion God coming into the pits. Refixer is the one who had a moment through turn 3. Quite right, Bags, the irony. But yeah, we're still using it, so hopefully at some point, either that section gets an entire redesign, or we start using the original version of the lap. Because I imagine those 2 fast right-handers in these cars would be quite thrilling to go through. Be quite similar to a turn like turn 9 that Blockman went through there. High speed, edge of grip, where if you make even the slightest mistake, it could cost you incredibly dearly. This Blockman, he's making his way around turn 12. He's still on an outlap, by the way. Even though the indicator on the leaderboard has disappeared, he is most definitely on an outlap. I don't know why that's a thing in this game. Car off in the middle sector. It's Refixer again. He's touring that little chicane out at turn 9. He'll rejoin nice and safely. Blockman making his way down the main straightaway, down towards turn 1. We'll see peak speeds reaching upwards of 200 miles an hour. 194 for Blockman there into turn 1. It'll be interesting to see if anyone does creep over 200 miles an hour heading into turn 1. Someone does. They're really running a low downforce setup. Blockman up to the first sector by 1/10 of a second. Apparently purple according to the minimap as he heads around turn 5. Second gear, gently applying the accelerator up through the gears around turn 6. Into the chicane of turn 7 and 8. Down to 4th gear. Again, gently modulating the throttle. No oversteer whatsoever from the Haas driver as he makes his way around turn 9. Now heading down the straightaway towards turn 10. The clock says to the middle sector, he's up by just under 3/10 of a second as he comes out to turn 10, around turn 11, and into turn 12, down to 3rd gear. Again, modulating that throttle, waiting for the last moment to get to full acceleration. Around turn 13, down the hill through the chicane of 14 and 15, clobbering over the curbs nicely. No oversteer, no understeer whatsoever. That car looking very stable. He'll open DRS and cross the line and jump up to the top of the table. 1 minute 17.079. But the man who did occupy that spot is on a better lap. KD has just spun. As soon as I said that, he was up by just under 1/10 and a half, and he threw it away at turn 12. hitting that inside curb and spinning his car out. Fortunately, nothing major from KD other than that spin. No damage whatsoever. He'll just come back in, put on another set of tyres, go on another flying lap. As his teammate, Mighty Wombat, is up by just over a tenth to the first sector. Comes out of turn 4, heading up towards turn 5, bringing it down to second gear. Short shifting to third on the exit, trying to find traction as championship leader Nico has just jumped up to P3 with a 17.2. Wombat comes out of turn 8, sideways and in the wall. Oh dear, oh dear. The McLaren's not having a great time, it seems, when it comes to traction. They're driving on banana peels, it seems. Oh, and he rejoined safely. Just about. Gets going again. Hash, I believe he's just set a flying lap. Currently P5 with a 17.9. Captain Schmeg has invalidated this lap. It looks like he's going to be on an in-lap regardless, so that's okay. Rebellion, seems like you're getting ready to set a flying lap. What about your teammate Collider? He's coming to the end of a flying lap around turn 13, into the chicane, second gear, clobbering over those inside curbs. Then around the final corner, turn 16, back onto the main straightaway with DRS open. He'll cross the line to improve by 1.5 tenths. P8 at the moment with an 18.3. His teammate Rebellion is making his way around turn 3 up towards turn 4. The first sector says for the Alpine driver, he is up by a healthy margin too. 2.5 tenths in the first sector. There's a lot of time to find for a section that only has 3 corners, so he's done really well there. Coming out of turn 5, around turn 6, and into that tricky chicane complex of 7 and 8, fourth gear, gets through there very tidily. Very nicely done. Around turn 9, using all of that inside curb. Down the back straightaway, there's KD in front on an outlap. As they head around turn 10, Rebellion is up by just under 3 tenths, so he hasn't found a great deal of time in that middle sector, but he has found just a little bit. Coming out of turn 12, he's probably distracted there by KD as he gets out of the way there at the exit of turn 12. Through the chicane, second gear. Nicely done there. Not using too much curb. Car looking very nice, very stable. Opens DRS, crosses the line. P5 for Rebellion. Improves by 5.5 tenths. Nice lap there from Rebellion. KD making his way down the main straightaway, though this camera angle doesn't show that because it's the worst camera angle on this racetrack. Around turn 3, sixth gear. Holding the accelerator at maximum input. I don't know where I was going with that. I got completely lost in my own words. Around turn 4, it's a nice exit there. Not using any of the outside curb. You tend to see drivers use that little bit of curb just to try and open up the exit. Coming out to turn 5, around turn 6, then up towards the chicane of 7 and 8. Clipping the apex nicely, not getting near that yellow sausage curb on the inside. Around turn 9, 6th gear, modulating the throttle. You'll open DRS and head up towards the middle sector split. The clock says he's up by a bit, 64 thousandths of a second. But even with that small improvement, he can jump up to the top of the table. As Aston Martin is off the racetrack there, that must be Guitar Hero, because Flavius is in the pit lane. Through turn 14 and 15, and around turn 16, the final corner. Foot to the floor, opens DRS, crosses the line. It's a 16.8 essentially from KD. Proves by a healthy margin, and he's the first driver in the 1 minute 16s. JBH pulling off to the side of the racetrack, trying to let drivers through. Shizant has used all his battery, crosses the line, improves, not by much though, by 27 thousandths of a second. Motion God on an outlap, getting ready. Guitar Hero making his way out to turn 3, up towards the first sector split. Clock says for Guitar Hero, he's down by 2.5 tenths. Is he going to push still? It looks like it. He's definitely using battery as of right now. Rafa getting ready. Raffixa has invalidated that lap, so I imagine he'll go back into pit lane. Into turns 7 and 8 goes Guitar Hero. Still appears to be pushing. Yellows are out. I think that's JBH trying to get out of the way. Up towards the middle sector split for Guitar Hero. Clock says he's found time to the middle sector. He's apparently purple, which I seriously doubt, as he heads around turn 12. But he has found time. He found about just under 2/10, I'd say, through that section. Through this cumbersome chicane. Oh, dearie me. His car is well and truly moving all over the place. The open DRS crosses the line. Does he improve? I think he did. Hard to say. Currently P11 with an 18.5. Unfortunately, the on-air indicator sort of disguised whether he improved or not. Chisholm coming in. Collider getting ready. Motion God. It appears that he's not on a flying lap. He's down by 11 seconds to the first sector. Rafa making his way down the main straightaway towards turn 1. Took pole position for the Miami Grand Prix for the sprint race. Managed to sew a lap together right at the death of qualifying, a wet weather qualifying session. He did it on the intermediate tyre and made it work, and he's currently up by 1.5 tenths to the first sector. Though he does have traffic right in front of him. An Alpine just sort of sitting in the way. Rafa moves on through at the exit of turn 5. Through turn 7, seeing the apex by a little bit, around turn 8, heading up the hill towards turn 9, keeping in 6th gear, no oversteer, no wheel spin, nothing of that like. As he crosses the middle sector split line, he's now up by just under 3/10. Around turn 12 now, 3rd gear, back on the accelerator. Uses all of 3rd gear at the exit of turn 12 as he heads down into 13, now into the chicane of 14 and 15. 2nd gear, back on the power briefly. Now he heads around the final turn, turn 16, and back onto the main straightaway. He'll cross the line and improve by just under 9/10. P13 for Rafa at the moment. Blockman making his way down the main straightaway. Currently P2 with a 17 flat. He needs to improve by just under 3/10 to try and challenge KD, to try and challenge pole position. Coming out of turn 3, heading up towards the first sector split for Blockman. The clock says he's up by 0.5 tenth to the first sector. Can he find any more time? There's Rafa in front. Hopefully Rafa will get out of the way shortly. There we go, gets out of the way at the exit of turn 5, and Blockman moves on through. Into turn 7, then turn 8. Using plenty of curb, using the full width of the circuit into turn 9. Again, no oversteer, car looking quite stable. Clock says to the middle sector, he's up by just over 1/10. So in order for him to try and take pole position, it needs to be a fairly mega final sector. Can he put it together? Out of turn 12, up towards turn 13, 3rd gear, back on the power, 4th gear briefly, then back down to 2nd for turn 14, through 15, 1 corner remains, turn 16. Back onto the main straightaway, DRS open, up to the line. It's pole for now for Blockman. He found the time. He definitely found the time. 1:16.720. Can KD respond? Can Nico respond as well? Currently P3. What about Mighty Wombat? He's down to the first sector by 1/10.5. Nico's heading up to the first sector split, and he hasn't found time. He's down by 300ths. Around turn 2. Around turn 3 goes KD. Should mention as well, he's won the previous 2 Spanish Grand Prix. He wants to make it a 3-peat, and he's currently up by 1/10 to the first sector. Wombat's found time in the middle sector. He's recovering. Can he put together a nice final sector? Maybe try and snag P3 away from Nico. Nico, meanwhile, he's heading up to the middle sector split. Has he found time? No, he most certainly hasn't. He's down still by another 300ths. Out of turn 9. Down towards turn 10. KD to the middle sector is up still. Hasn't found much time in that middle sector, but he's still up overall. Wombat has decided to duck back into pit lane. Nico makes his way around the final turn, back onto the main straightaway, crosses the line, improves by just under 1/10. He stays P3. But what about KD? Heading out of the chicane, around the final corner, back onto the main straightaway. He'll open DRS, cross the line. It's enough for pole. 1:16.678. He's beaten Blockman by just under 0.5 tenth at the end of qualifying. So a nice lap at the end of the day from KD. He's put it on pole. A critical pole position for the sake of his championship. And it's not much. I think 42 thousandths. 41, according to that graphic. At the end of qualifying. Another tight fight at the top of the table here at Spain. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, Nico, championship leader P3. I'm sure he won't be too pleased with that, being 4.5 tenths off pole position, but he's in a nice spot in P3. Mighty Wombat making it a solid qualifying overall for McLaren. Hash P5 for Ferrari. Then JBH, then Rebellion, Captain Schmeg, Shizant and Black Baller rounds out the 10. So only McLaren and Mercedes have 2 cars in the top 10. Everyone else has 1 car in the 10. Well, for some it's just 1 car in the race. There we are. End of qualifying. And an interesting one at that. Some nice bits of driving right at the end of qualifying. So KD puts it on pole. Yeah, I thought it was 42 thousandths between the top 2 at the end of qualifying. Insanely close. KD from Blockman. Nico next in P3, then Mighty Wombat, then Hash, JVH, Rebellion, Captain Schmeg, Shizant and Black Baller rounds out the top 10. Collider's next, followed by Guitar Hero, then Motion God and Rafa, Refixer P15, then Flavius will start from the back of the grid. 2.7 seconds, rounding out the entire field. Right, race time. And I don't think I got a weather report from KD, so I'm going to guess it's probably going to be dry. I would guess. Always enjoy a dry race. They just tend to be a bit more interesting than wet weather races. Usually, not always, but usually. So, yeah, dry. I can't really see any clouds either from that shot I have. So, shouldn't have any wet weather interference for the start. It might change towards the end of the race. Who knows with this game. Looking in the garages, I can see Black Baller with a set of hard tyres in there, suggesting he might be on the mediums. Strategy here, it's fairly simple. It's either medium hard or hard medium. It just depends on when you want the softer tyre. Do you want it at the beginning of the race, make up positions early and compensate later on, or get the harder tyre out of the way early so you can attack towards the end? It's a very important call to make. And you've got to be mindful of safety cars as well, that just completely change the complexion of the race. And sometimes safety cars really don't go your way. Especially if there's an early safety car and you're on the hard compound tyre. You can get a little bit screwed. So, let's see who's on what tyre, shall we? Well, it's a convincing story, ain't it? Well, more convincing than I thought it was going to be. I was hoping for a mix. This is definitely not a mix. So, the top 8, that includes KD, Blockman, Nico, Wombat, Hash, JBH, Rebellion and Schmeg. They're all starting on the mediums. Shizant and Black Baller in P9 and 10 are the only 2 drivers in the entire field starting on the hard tyre. Behind them is Collider, Guitar Hero, Motion God, Rafa, Refixer and Flavius. They're all starting on the mediums as well. So we got 14 cars on the mediums, 2 on the hard tyre. Yeah, I reckon Shizant and Black Ball are going to feel pretty lonely out there on those hard compound tyres. And yeah, you can see, looking on Black Baller's onboard, not really a cloud in the side. Oh, there's a big one over there, but there's no real sense of cloud cover around the racetrack. So, I don't think we have rain expected. But we'll keep an open mind. You never know. You never know. Could probably get rid of the tyre graphic then. We know that everyone, except for P9 and P10, they're all starting on the medium compound tyre. Interesting. So they all want to send it at the start. So it all comes down to sort of their pit window. When do they want to pit off their medium compound tyres and onto a set of hards? So KD has a moment there, heading down the main straightaway. Now I've seen some drivers carry the medium compound tyre to about half distance, which is lap 17. So we'll see the pit window at probably about lap 14 through to 19, I want to say, if they really want to stretch the tyre out. Lap 19. That'll be the critical area to keep an eye out for strategy in this race. But of course, if we have a safety car at any point, that throws all of that out the window. Rightio, all 16 cars are lined up ready to race. We got 10 red lights. And we're underway here at Barcelona. It's a nice start from KD from what I could see. It's a really nice start from KD. It's a horrible start from Blockman. What a mega start from JBH. He's through into P2 as the leaders head down towards turn 1. I have no idea why the game gives me that rubbish camera angle at the side of the racetrack. It literally gives me nothing. Around turn 3 as Hash gets overtaken by Blockman. We have an incident behind. It's Mighty Wombat in the McLaren spinning out at turn 2. JBH and Nico battling for position. Nico gets in front into P2. So Blockman, qualified P2, he's down to 4th on this opening part of the lap. Not the best of starts for him at all, but he's still there with the leaders. That's the critical thing. Black Baller dropping down to 15th position. He's had a moment coming out of turn 5. He's down to last position now. Wombat takes P15. Down the back straight away, up towards turn 10. KD holding his own out in front. Nico P2. JBH running wide is Blockman in P4. Then Hash with Captain Schmeg closing in. Around turn 12. Schmeg right on the gearbox of Hash as they come up towards turn 13. Contact, I think, between the two cars. There wasn't contact and they were really damn close to one another through that chicane. Out to the final corner. A bit of a moment there from JBH. Another moment there from Collider. Using all of the curb on the outside. Spinning is Flavius in the Aston Martin. And he drops down to position, promoting Mighty Wombat to 14th. Rebellion see this camera angle? Absolutely worthless camera angle. I don't know why it's in the game. It's so unbelievably distracting and it's completely worthless. Guitar Hero on the back of Rebellion coming out of turn 3. Up towards turn 4. Not really in a position to attack just yet. Has to stay behind. JBH under a bit of pressure from Blockman. Unfortunately, the interval glitch has returned. So hopefully on the next lap that will fix itself. Through turn 7, around turn 8, up the hill towards 9. A moment from JBH at the exit of 8, but gathered it up nicely. Down the back straightaway towards turn 10. Blockman closing in. Here we go, up towards the left-hand sweeper. Blockman not in a position to attack just yet. Bit of a gap forming between the two Alpines of Collider and Rebellion as Blockman has a moment through turn 11. Coming out of 12, heading towards 13. KD trying to break away from Nico. So he heads through the chicane. Now around the final corner and back onto the main straightaway. You can see the gap there. Looks like it's about 7 tenths between the two cars. 9 tenths, I was close enough between the two cars. So Nico is only just within a second of the race leader. JBH, meanwhile, he's 1.2 seconds behind. He's used a fair bit of battery already, down to 25%. Yellows are out. It's Black Baller spinning out. That's at turn 12. Oh, it's spinning out! It's championship leader Nico! He has spun at turn 3 and plummets down the order. Now, he's definitely done that by himself. He was way too far behind KD for him to be involved. He probably just lost the back end at turn 3. I mentioned it during qualifying. You have to be careful with how much you turn into that corner. If you turn in too much, you apply too much steering input, the back end just gives up. Like, the grip just disappears on you and you go for a spin. So you do have to be careful through turn 3. Nico now down in 12th position as Refixer has had a moment out of turn 4 and drops down to 15th position. Now KD out in front has got a comfy cushion to JBH. 2.6 seconds between the two cars. Blockman in P3 half a second behind. Hash 1 second behind the Haas. He needs to try and get within 1 second range. Can't do it. He won't have DRS down this main straight. Captain Schmeg most certainly will. Yellows are out. It's Shizant in the Red Bull, spinning out. And drops down to 13th position. And spinning out is Raffixa at turn 9. He gets pointed back in the right direction and gets going again. KD pulling away. JBH in trouble as he has Blockman right on his gearbox. Heading up to turn 4. Blockman looking around the outside here into turn 4. Keeps it committed on that outside line. But JBH keeps the nose in front. Blockman sends it into turn 5. JBH leaves room. Coming out of the hairpin towards turn 6. Now towards 7 and 8. JBH keeps position. Nice battling between those two. Very respectful driving, all in all. Around turn 9, heading down the back straightaway towards turn 10. Blockman in the slipstream, pulls out of it, looking around the outside of turn 10. Sends it in D. JBH still alongside. A bit of a moment there, though, from JBH, losing control of the car, but managed to gather it up and keep position. He stays in P2. Fantastic driving from both of them. It's ahead around turn 13. Down the hill into the chicane of 14 and 15. JBH, I think he missed the apex at 14. Probably compromised his run out of the chicane. And also around the final corner. Here comes Blockman. Right behind. Using up his battery. Using DRS. You can see the flashing red light at the back of the Mercedes. JBH has no battery left whatsoever. Around the outside of turn 1. He keeps the inside line at turn 2. And he gets in front. Blockman into P2 with a nice move. Captain Schmeg, he moves up into P4 as well in the meantime. Overtaking the Ferrari of Hash down the main straightaway. Mighty Wombat closing in on Motion God. Coming around turn 3. Up towards turn 4. Gap is 0.2 of a second as they head into turn 4. Yeah, Wombat just not quite close enough, but he's got a run here. He draws alongside the Alfa Romeo, goes round the outside of Motion God. P10 for Mighty Wombat. Nice move there. Down the back straightaway, heading towards turn 10. Hash with DRS now, trying to keep up with Captain Schmeg. Maybe try and re-overtake the Williams driver at some point. JBH trying to stick with Blockman as well. Gap at half a second between the two cars. KD out in front, driving away. He's got a 4.2 second margin over Blockman as it stands. Down the main straightaway, JBH losing time. He's now 0.8 behind the Haas. He'll gain time down this straightaway. And he needs to string a few good laps together to try and keep this battle alive with Blockman. Captain Schmeg holding his own in 4th. Hash in P5. Collider closing in on this battle in P6. Bit of a gap back to Rebellion, who he's got his hands full with Guitar Hero in P8. Heading up towards turn 4. Guitar Hero not in a position to attack. Yellows are out for some reason. No idea why they were out. No one had a moment. Couldn't see any yellow flags on the minimap, so that was strange. Very strange. Out of turn 7, around turn 8, up towards turn 9. Hash half a second behind Captain Schmeg. Gain a bit down this straightaway, so will Collider. Meanwhile, Blockman, he's closed the gap a little bit. Now 4 seconds between the top two. It was about 4.2 on the previous lap. So now 3.8, 3.9. So Blockman, he's got pace in the Haas. Trying to close in. Collider gets by Hash. Hash has made a mistake. You can tell from the dirty tyres. He's actually had an excursion into the gravel. So he had a moment, probably through turn 12, I would guess. And as a result, he's lost position. Collider into P5, and he still has DRS on Captain Schmeg. You can see those flashing red lights at the back of the Williams. He's low on battery. You can tell from the telemetry, Collider is not low on battery. He is definitely not low on battery. Spinning is Mighty Wombat at turn 2. He's clobbered the inside curb, and he spun the car around. It's a very nasty inside curb at turn 2. You either have to clobber it with all of your car or leave it completely alone. You can't go in between, because that happens. The car does not like it at all. Spins out. Really can't do much about it either. Rebellion on the back of Hash coming around turn 9. He's got a run on the Ferrari. Heading down the back straight away. He's using battery, using DRS. Going around the long way on Hash. Can he get it done here? Draws alongside. He's missing an end plate as well, I've just noticed. They'll be impeding Hash's pace, and down the inside goes Guitar Hero as well, as Black Bull has had a moment. Coming out of turn 2, entering turn 3. Flew and through goes Guitar Hero into P7. The Hash, will he come in? No, he's fighting on. So I'm guessing that damaged end plate came from that incident at turn 12. Whatever that was. And he's just fighting on with a broken wing to try and get into a pit window when he can put on the hard tyre, get to the end comfortably. Into the pits goes Mighty Wombat. He's electing to get off these medium compound tyres now and put on a set of hards. Really has nothing to lose in this position. Might as well take a gamble. See if it pays off. KD holding his own out in front. He's now maintaining the pace that Blockman has. They're 4 seconds apart. They've been there for some time now. JBH losing a bit of ground. 3.4 seconds behind Blockman. Captain Schmeg 2 seconds behind him. They head down the back straight away towards turn 10. Collider following suit in P5. Rebellion still has Guitar Hero behind, as Nico will get by Hash here. The entry to turn 10, and he moves himself into P8. He's recovering after his spin at turn 8. He's got 1.5 seconds to close in on Guitar Hero. Black Ball, a 5-second penalty as he proceeds to retire in pit lane. He's had enough for the day. Now, with that retirement, it means every driver who completes the required number of laps will score points in today's race. Here comes Collider as well. He actually backs out of it. You can see it there. He does not want to overtake Captain Schmeg right now. He wants to stay behind. Interesting. He believes it's a benefit to stay behind Captain Schmeg right now. Playing a longer game. Valiant still has Guitar Hero behind. There is Nico closing in. He's 1.2 seconds behind now. Yellows are out because Black Buller's AI is trying to find a place to park. Because of course it is. Through turn 7, around turn 8, heading up the hill. Collider still 6.5 tenths behind. The AI is taking forever to find a spot to park up. I think it's found one now at turn 4. Well, we keep saying it to Cody, but they never seem to listen. You know, it would be nice if the cars could retire in the... when they retire in the pit lane, they despawn in the pit lane. But no, of course I don't. Has to dawdle around the racetrack and find a place to park. And with ghosting turned off, not saying that Race Spec has it turned off, but in leagues where ghosting is turned off, you essentially put a mobile chicane on the racetrack. It becomes a massive hazard. Here comes Guitar Hero. DRS, battery activated as well. Down the inside of Rebellion at turn 1. He moves himself into P6. Nico closes in. Rebellion has a moment and a half, but he gathers it well. Stays in P8. Nico closing in on Guitar Hero here. Heading around turn 4, up towards turn 5. Nico, he could try and line up a move into turn 10 if he really wants to. Whoa, a bit understeery there. Losing a little bit of time to Guitar Hero. Yeah, that is true. I have seen the AI park up at pit exit here at Spain. Completely just off-putting. Like, we've asked this for some time now to have the cars despawn in pit lane, but we won't have it. We won't ever have it. So, Mighty Wombat overtaking Flavius. And I think we're going to see a pass here for P6. Nico just needs to get a nice run here out of the chicane. Got a pretty decent run. Guitar Hero not using any battery in response. He just moves to the inside of the racetrack. Here comes Nico. Can't do much to fight that. Collider down the inside of turn 1. Gets through into P4. Captain Schmeck fights around the outside. Contact! Losing control! Gathers it up nicely! How did he catch that? Oh my goodness me. At the entry to turn 3, just a small touch between Collider and Schmeck. There was a real chance that Schmeck was going to lose control and put it into the wall, but somehow he gathered it up, and he's still running. What a save. Definitely a classic catch right there. But he's now falling to within the clutches of Nico. 1.2 seconds behind. Seeing the speed that Nico has. Gonna close in on Captain Schmeck quite quickly here. Through turn 10. Up towards turn 11. Nico's now within a second of Captain Schmeck. Coming around turn 12, 5th gear, modulating the throttle nicely. Down to 2nd, then short shifting up to 4th. What a peculiar technique. Look at that. He's using all of the gears through that chicane. Went down to 1st even. You don't tend to see that in F122. Here comes Nico, by the way, with DRS, with battery as well. Captain Schmeck can do nothing in response. And Nico is through into P5. There we are. Up towards turn 4. Bringing it down to 3rd gear. Yeah, he was down to 3rd gear. I could have sworn he was down to 3rd. And must have short shifted up to 5th. Yeah, down to 2nd, short shifting up to 4th. What an interesting technique. Very reminiscent of something like F1 2019. You used to do this all the time in F1 2019. Where if you went into a hairpin, you would have to bring it all the way down to 1st gear, then you would short shift all the way up to like 3rd or 4th on the exit. It's a very common 2019 technique. Yeah, that was on display there from Nico. Interesting. Down the back straight away. Hash got motion got behind. 3/10 behind the exact. Heading around turn 12 now. Motion God. Can he get the nice run through the chicane? Try and make an overtake here. He's got battery to spend as well. He could try and make a pass. Gets a nice run. Gets a very nice run. Hash with that damaged front wing obviously doesn't help. As he heads down the main straightaway with DRS open. Not using as much battery as I would have thought. Obviously Hash has got some pretty decent straight line speed in that Ferrari. Down into turn 1. So Hash hangs on to P9 for now. Guitar Hero. Still on the back of Captain Schmeck here. Half a second separating these two. Nico, his next task is trying to catch up to Collider. Try and take P4. Gap's 1.5 seconds between the two cars. Be a good idea to keep an eye on that gap. Oh, into the walls, Guitar Hero! He's thrown it away at the exit of turn 7. And we have a safety car. A safety car has been deployed. And what a perfect time to get off the medium compound tyre and onto a set of hards. Oh dear, oh dear. What a feel for Guitar Hero there. I'm certain many of us have done this before. Losing control. Coming around turn 7. He probably lost it here at the apex and slammed into that wall on the left-hand side of the circuit. Yeah, everyone will be pitting onto a set of hards. Except for these two on hard tyres already. They can come in, well, Shizen isn't, but they can come in anyway, put on a set of mediums if they really wanted to. I think those mediums could make it to the end fairly comfortably. Wombat, well, his back is against the wall. He's sort of stuck on those tyres, I think, for the rest of the race. I mean, the tyres he was on, those mediums, they're 8 laps old. They're not going to make it. Yep, everyone coming in for a set of hards. Wombat will jump up to P9 now. He's inside the top 10. So we just had the big reset. This is the first safety car I've seen for a race spec event here at Spain for Season 7. Pacific Elite didn't have one safety car. Pacific Tier 1 didn't have a safety car. Here at American Series, we have one at lap 13. Yeah, unlucky Guitar Hero. Those things happen. Definitely around here. It's quite a demanding race circuit here at Spain. Plenty of areas where you could quite easily get screwed over. Hello Ferrari Pro as well. Nice to see you here too. I know we just had the big reset. Everyone bunches up again. Everyone's pitted except for one car. Shizant in P6. He's out there on a set. What is now 14 lap old hards. I don't quite understand the call. The medium tyres could definitely make it. It'd be a stretch, but they could make it. So Shizant is going to be up against the wall here for the rest of the race. He's now a pit stop behind everybody. Yeah, this ought to be interesting. Yeah, the new McLaren livery badge does look quite nice. I like the pink highlights that they added to the car, as well as the decals that sort of show the internals of the race car. I think it's rather a cool looking design, something that we haven't really seen in Formula 1. But yeah, generally just a really awesome looking car. What's even better is that Cody's are actually going to introduce the livery to F122 after what I'm going to assume is going to be the next update. So yeah. Oh, we'll see, Ferrari Pro. If you're not doing anything, I don't mind having a partner. And I'm quite happy and capable of doing it by myself. Done it for this long, so. And we're just waiting on Rafixa to catch up. So we will most likely go back on the green flag racing at the end of 16, beginning of lap 17. So it's going to be a 17 lap dash to the checkered flag. That is, of course, if we don't have another safety car at some point. Yeah, anyone who is in the McLaren, like Katie and Mighty Wombat, they get to experience the new livery, whereas we just have to see it from our normal liveried cars. So then again, we've all had to put up with that with the Ferrari tribute livery, which still looks fantastic. Be interesting to see what Ferrari run at Singapore this weekend, whether they have a identical design to what they've been running, or whether they add in elements from their 75th anniversary livery into their sort of normal design. Because I definitely think there's elements of this car they should keep in the main design, particularly the old Ferrari logo on the rear wing. It just complements it incredibly well. So hopefully they keep that, because having it just an empty chasm of carbon fiber doesn't really look appealing. So it would just sort of be the cherry on top of the cake that is the Ferrari Formula 1 car. It is definitely one of the better looking cars on the grid. It's the first time that a Formula 1 car actually kind of looks like a Ferrari. Like a proper Ferrari. It's a pity though their team has gone proper Italian when it comes to their personnel. Could have been a championship winning season for Ferrari, but no. Have to throw it away. But hopefully none of these guys throw their results away. We're about to go back under green flag conditions here at Spain. KD at the front of the field, controlling the pace. Coming out of the chicane, there goes the safety car back into the pits. And around the final corner go the leaders. It's now lap 17 of 33. 17 laps to go. Leaders heading down towards turn 1. Blockman in the slipstream. Unable to close in. JBH right behind the Haas. Heading through turn 2. Up towards turn 3. They're sitting at 3.5 tenths as Rafa overtakes Motion God. Rafix overtakes Flavius. Midfield make their way around turn 3. Everyone gets through pretty unscathed on this restart lap. So everyone's done a really nice job maintaining relative position and not making any mistakes. That's a really crucial thing. It's quite easy to do considering these hard tyres take forever to get up to temperature during a safety car restart. Coming out of turn 8 up towards turn 9. 6/10 separating the top 2. Head down the back straightaway towards turn 10. Blockman using battery. KD not using any down that straightaway, but he has used a fair bit. He's down to 70% compared to Blockman on 80. JBH behind him, P3. Collider, P4. Nico. This is his chance to recover a potential podium finish. He's P5 as it stands. Shizant. Sort of being the cork in the bottle, as it were, on those old tyres. He's building a gap. Those in front of him, a spin for Captain Schmeck. He loses control at the exit of the chicane. Those 1.5 donuts. And he rejoins safely down in last position. Oh dear. 1 second now separating the top 2. So KD's built up a small margin over Blockman. Can Blockman respond? Can he close that gap back up? 9/10 separating the 2. JBH 9/10 behind him. Then there's Collider. Then half a second back is Nico in P5 in the AlphaTauri. Heading towards turn 7 and 8. Where can Nico try and pass here? He's got pace. Collider losing a little bit of time to the top 3. The gap now between him and JBH is 1.2 seconds. They head around turn 10, short shifting up to 4th gear there, using the little bit of extra run-off area at the exit of turn 10, so using the full width of the circuit there. Around turn 13, then down the hill. Here, down to 1st gear, short shifting to 2nd, short shifting to 3rd. That's a bit more traditional as Rafa has had a moment. That's at the exit of turn 12 and dropped behind Flavius. So he's down to P13. Gap still about 1 second between the top 2, so they're now fairly even in terms of pace. KD hasn't been able to pull away, but Blockman hasn't been able to close in. KD still about a second behind, so he's maintaining pace to Blockman. Collider now 1.5 seconds behind JBH. Half a second back from him is Nico. Coming out of turn 4, heading towards turn 5. Shizant behind. He's doing alright now on those old tyres. Maintaining his own in P6. The car behind him is Mighty Wombat in the McLaren, who's on the recovery drive after what happened earlier in the race. Doing pretty well now in P7. Had a frame rate drop there for some reason. I think there was a dirt being kicked up. Dropped the frames just ever so slightly. Around turn 12. Nico 6/10 behind Collider. So head up towards turn 13. And with DRS enabled, he'll be able to close in down the main straightaway. Potentially attack into turn 1 if he gets a nice run here through the final corner. As Blockman sets a new fastest lap, he's on the attack. He's within a second of KD, and he's closing in on the race leader. Nico not using any battery. He's not in any hurry to try and attack Collider here. He's playing a longer game. But these two aren't playing a longer game. They're going to go at it, I reckon. 3.5 tenths separating the top 2 as they head around turn 4. Up towards the hairpin of turn 5 now. 4 tenths separating the two cars as Rafa overtakes Flavius. That was for P12. These two are now building a sizable gap over JBH. It's now 2.6 seconds. So JBH sort of being left behind here. Not that he'd mind too much. I'm sure he'd be pretty happy with a P3 finish. Down the back straightaway. DRS open for Blockman. He closes in on the race leader as they head into turn 10. Down to third gear. Back on the accelerator, nice and gently, using all of the racetrack there on the outside. Around turn 12. Chipping away at the gap. As they head into turn 13 towards the chicane. Down to second gear. Back on the accelerator. Short shifting to third, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear as he heads onto the main straightaway as Captain Schmeg overtakes his teammate. That was for P12. Down the main straightaway, DRS open, using up some battery as well. Here comes Blockman with a whole heap of speed, looks to the inside, but wasn't close enough to commit to a move. Nico has gone by Collider, down the inside heading into turn 1. He moves into P4. Shizen has got his hands full now. Mighty Wombat has closed to within 3/10 of the Red Bull, heading around turn 3, up towards turn 4. Wombat not close enough to attack, but he is close enough to apply pressure. Try and create a mistake here as they head into turn 4, looking to the inside, a big dive from the McLaren. Shizen holds his line and keeps P6 as a result. Around turn 7, around turn 8. Heading up the hill towards turn 9. Wombat closing in. He's got a run. Oh, but he made a mistake at the apex of turn 9. And he's unable to attack here into 10. See the pace that Wombat's got. Just unable to find a way by. Around turn 12. Up towards 13. Got to remember as well, Shizen has to make a pit stop. Yet to pit in this race. Hash has moved past Rebellion. Gonna see a move here, I would think. DRS open, using any battery? No, Shizen isn't using any either. Interesting. So Wombat doesn't want to attack just yet. Probably going to give it another lap. Oh, it closes right up under brakes. Around turn 3. Both drivers get through unscathed. They head up towards turn 4. Meanwhile, KD still holding the lead. Blockman still within a second, but he wasn't as close as he was before. He's now 7.5 behind. They head through turn 7, around turn 8, heading up the hill towards turn 9. The gap increases to 0.8 of a second. Down the back straightaway with DRS open. Blockman will gain time on this straight. They head into turn 10, clipping the apex nicely, running out wide using all of that track. Around turn 12. Nicely done there. KD gets a better run out of the corner. Yellows are out as well. I think it's Rafa. It is Rafa. Spinning out at the exit of turn 8. Down the main straightaway. Blockman using up some battery. DRS open. He's going to close in. Not by a great deal though. In fact, KD is holding his own in the straight. Blockman only gained about 1/10 down the main straightaway. Here comes Mighty Wombat. Shizen covers the inside, moves back to the racing line. Wombat goes down the inside into turn 1, and he's through into P6. A nice move there from Mighty Wombat. Shizen, I don't think he'll be able to respond here, I think. Trying to have a look around the outside of turn 4, but you got no grip out there. As a result, Wombat will keep P6. Blockman 0.6 behind KD, still working away at the race leader, trying to apply pressure, but KD is holding firm. Around turn 10. Again, we see two very different lines. We see Blockman using all of that extra road on the outside. KD though keeps it all within the white lines. They head down through the chicane, turns 14 and 15. See there, Blockman using a bit of extra curve on the outside of the chicane. KD not so much. As they head down the main straightaway, yellows are out. It's Refixer spinning. That's at turn 10. And another spin for Rafa at turn 8. Half a second now separating the top two. Blockman closing in down the straights, but KD pulling away in the corners. Quite the topsy-turvy fight between the top two. We've got another fight brewing. between JBH and Nico, our championship leader. 7/10 separating these two cars as they head into turn 4. So Nico within DRS range. Can he launch an attack on JBH? Can he get that podium finish? Blockman, meanwhile, half a second behind KD, heading through turn 7. Around turn 8, not the best of runs, losing a few hundredths to KD. Out of turn 9, down the back straightaway towards turn 10. Recovers those few hundredths down the straightaway thanks to DRS. Nico closing in as well. So the battle's on for P3. The battle is on for P1. Everyone else is pretty well spread out at this point. A fairly decent sized gaps between all the cars as it stands. Out of the final corner, down the main straightaway. Blockman using up his battery. DRS open now for the harsh driver. Switches off his battery as he heads down into turn 1. Round turn 2. Turn 3. Shizit finally pits as well. He comes into pit lane to get off those hard tyres onto a set of softs. Yellows were out as well. I believe that was Rafa having a moment at turn 9. Out of turn 5, around turn 6. KD still hanging on. Doing a great job out in front. Yellows are out. That's Rafa again having a moment. Shizit drops behind Rafixa down to P12. But the battle is on between these two cars. Shizit with fresher, softer tyres. Should make mincemeat of Rafixa here. Down the inside of turn 4. But Rafixa swoops around the long way to hang on to P11. Rafa is into pit lane as well. He'll put on a set of soft compound tyres and go to the end. He's going to keep driving as well. Top 15 in Race Spec score points. We only have 14 cars left in the race. So he will score something so long as he finishes. Down the main straightaway. Blockman closing in with all he's got. Doesn't close in by enough to attack into turn 1. He's still got time. We're on lap 26 of 33. He's got about 8 laps to go. So he's got time to launch an attack. He's closing in on KD here. Down the inside into turn 4. But KD shuts it off. He keeps the lead. Around turn 5. The gap. 3.5 tenths. Made that 4 tenths now heading out of the hairpin. JBH has now got his hands full with Nico in P4. And Shizit has moved by Rafixa into P11. Collider will have his hands full in a moment. Yellow flags are out for whatever reason. Why were yellows out there? No one looked like they were off the circuit. Interesting. Half a second. Still separating these two. Blockman just needs to be that little bit closer. Heading out of the chicane. So he can try and pass KD down the main straightaway. That's where he's been so strong. He's got to run this time, I think. Down the main straight. 4 tenths behind. Sitting right in the slipstream. Here comes Blockman. And he's going to get by KD with complete ease. Blockman is our new race leader. KD, he's got battery. He's capable of responding. Just needs to keep up with Blockman, keep within that 1 second range. JBH has well and truly got his hands full with Nico. Coming out of turn 3, the gap is 3 tenths of a second between these two cars as Captain Schmag overtakes Motion God in the braking zone of turn 1. Shizit sets a new fastest lap. It is to be expected. He is on the soft compound tyre out there. Out of turn 5, around turn 6, towards turn 7 and 8. Between these two, half a second. Nico will close in after turn 9. The help of DRS. Goes down the back straightaway towards turn 10. Gap between these two now sitting at 4 tenths. Nico needs to get a nice run through this final sector. Try and challenge JVH down the main straightaway into turn 1. KD has lost it. He has spun at the entry of the final corner. He has thrown it away. Oh my goodness me. Through goes JBH. Through goes Nico. KD down to 4th. He spun coming out of the chicane. Too eager on the accelerator, and it's cost him dearly. He's not only lost position, he's off the podium, and his teammates just overtaking Collider. That is for P5. Well, what a tremendous blow for KD, leading the entirety of this race, and one simple mistake has cost him the chance to fight for the win. The most he can fight for now is P2, because he's now within a second of Nico. It's a 3-car fight for P2. Blockman out in front, managing his race well. He's got 7.7 seconds to the next car. So long as he doesn't make a mistake, should be an easy win. Down the back straightaway towards turn 10. Nico closing to almost 0.4 of a second. Around turn 12. Heading up towards 13. Nico can try and line up a pass here. Just needs that run through the chicane. Right on the gearbox of the Mercedes-Benz. But you see JVH gets a beautiful run around the final corner. Yellows are out. It's Rafixa coming out of turn 8. Nico, he's not using battery to try and close in on JVH here. Gonna wait for the right moment to strike. Oh, but a shocking run through JVH through turns 1 and 2. Contact between the two cars. Nico's off the road. And through goes KD. He draws alongside Nico. Heading out to turn 3. Towards turn 4. KD with the inside line sends it in and takes position. He's through into 3rd. Up towards turn 5. KD, can he try and attack JVH here? Comes out of the hairpin. Around the kink of turn 6. Towards turn 7 and 8. 4th gear, kisses the apex, around turn 8, gets a nice run, 3.5 tenths behind, around turn 9, closes in a little bit more on JVH there, gained up time down this straightaway into turn 10, overshoots the corner by a little bit, missing the apex, around turn 12, gap of 4.5 tenths between these two cars, through turn 13, into the chicane, 14, 15. One corner remains, turn 16, as they head back onto the main straightaway. Half a second separating these two, and KD's on the attack. He's using battery, sitting in the slipstream, closing in at a great rate of knots. Into turn 1. 4th gear, gets into turn 1 pretty well. Around turn 2, JVH gets a better run. Around turn 3 this time around. Nico now 7 tenths behind KD. His chance for a podium finish might have gone out the window with that contact at turn 3. That'll be a bitter blow for Nico. Out to turn 5. Around turn 6. Into 7 and 8. Half a second separating these two. Up the hill. Around turn 9. Won't be able to attack here. But he gets a nice run and closes in down the straightaway. Up to 10. 3.5 tenths separating these two cars. KD needs to get a nice run through this final sector. Up towards turn 13, 4th gear. Back on the accelerator. Down into 14 and 15. Almost goes up the back of JVH, who again gets a superb run. Heading onto the straightaway. That's where he's strong. He compromises the entry to the chicane at 14. So he gets a run out of 15. Floors it around the final corner. And he builds up about an extra 2 or so tenths over the car behind because of that run. So KD needs to read that. Try and understand that. So he can try and find a way by JVH, because he gets a great run onto the main straightaway. And that obviously is the best overtaking place on the racetrack. Down the main straight into turn 1. That is easily the best overtaking spot on the circuit. So KD needs to get that run out of the final chicane. Out in front though, Blockman I think he's going to start backing off a bit. He is using battery. I mean, why wouldn't you on the straights? But I think through the turns, he's going to be backing off a little bit. JBH holding his own in P2. KD closing in bit by bit. Nico still hanging back. Might have got damage as well from that contact. Maybe a little bit of damage. Hard to tell. He just doesn't have the venom to try and attack the two in front. He's too far behind. Doesn't have quite enough car speed. Out of the chicane. This time KD's a little bit closer, but JBH still gets a nice run. Opens DRS and starts to use the battery. We got 2 laps to go here in Barcelona. Down the main straightaway, JBH covering the inside line. KD moves to the racing line. JBH covers. The Mercedes hangs on to second position. Around turn 3. Up towards 4. Nico just hovering behind. Unable to do anything. Wombat is closing in. He is 1.1 seconds behind Nico. He may join this fight. Down into turn 5. KD close, not close enough. Now Nico closes in. I'm guessing JBH and KD took it a bit easy into the hairpin, and Nico was able to snag a few extra tenths through turn 5. Wombat almost within a second of Nico now. Just a few hundredths off. Down the back straightaway towards turn 10. Not close enough to attack. We might have one last go down the main straightaway. We'll get rid of the tyre graphic now. Do not need it. This is it. Through the chicane. Turns 14 and 15. He needs a nice run here. A mega run. Doesn't quite get it. And Nico is close behind. JBH has got a gap in hand. It's now the final lap. Lap 33 of 33 here at Barcelona. And KD's not close enough to battle. But Nico's close enough to go for P3. Down the inside, he looks into turn 1. Contact, spinning goes Nico. Oh, Nico wasn't given room at the apex. The two make contact and they spin. Or rather, Nico spins. Oh, and he spins again on the sausage curb. Oh dear, I can't help but feel that's going to be an incident report. And now Mighty Wombat closes in behind his teammate. Half a second separating the two McLarens. The JBH holding his own in second as it stands. Out in front. Oh, as Wombat gets by KD. What's going on here? It's a drag race down towards turn 10. Who's got the legs? Is it Mighty Wombat? Oh, KD sends it indeed. Gets back in front of his teammate. Interesting. I didn't think he was close enough to battle. Turns out I'm wrong. Through the chicane for the final time. Blockman has put together one hell of a Spanish Grand Prix. Kept it out of trouble. Drove a pretty damn good race. And he wins here in Barcelona by quite a comfortable margin. JBH will finish in P2. And KD will end up rounding the podium places in P3. Not what he wanted at all. I can't help but feel there's probably going to be a few stewards reports after this one. Mighty Wombat, nice recovery to finish 4th. Collider rounding out the top 5. Then Hash and Rebellion, Captain Schmeg. Nico will end up finishing 9th. Yeah. I'm going to assume he's not happy about that. Shiz in P10. Then Motion God Flavius will be the next finisher. Then Rafixa. Rafa ended up finishing down in 14th position. There'll be 2 points next to his name. Yeah. I imagine a few words might be said after that one. So. There we are. Mighty Wombat, given driver of the day, and to be honest, I would give it to him as well for that recovery after what happened earlier. And probably another candidate for driver of the day is the man standing on the top step. Blockman just put together a pretty fine race. Drove very well, got himself into a battle with KD after the safety car period. ended up passing him, and KD then made a mistake at the exit of the chicane and just drove away. He'll be our winner of the Spanish Grand Prix. P2 goes to JBH, P3 is KD 1997. So, the unofficial results of the Spanish Grand Prix. Blockman would end up winning by 5.2 seconds over JBH at the end of this one, with KD finishing P3 for McLaren. Mighty Wombat P4, nice recovery after what happened. Nice double points finish for the Woking outfit. Collider will round out the top 5, started 11th, finished P5. Nice drive from him, climbing up through the order. Hash P6, Rebellion P7, so a double points finish for Alpine. Captain Schmeg P8, Nico in 9th. Shizant rounds out the top 10 with fastest lap. Motion God P11, followed by Flavius, Refixer, then Rafa, our final finisher. 2 retirements, Guitar Hero, that brought out the safety car, and Black Baller early in the race. Well, there we are, folks. The end to another interesting race here on the America Series. And I think, folks, that might just wrap everything up. It appears as if I'm not going to be moving from this screen. That's okay. But I think we can wrap everything up. But no, it's been a nice week of racing here at Barcelona. Definitely had its moments, that's for sure. And it proves that in the virtual world that even boring racetracks can create interesting racing. Barcelona is a perfect example of it. But with everything said and done, it's time for us to end the stream. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you all so much for watching. And we'll see you next week for round 6 of the championship for the longest race of the season at Marina Bay Street Circuit for the Singapore Grand Prix. It's going to be one hell of a long night. But until then, it's goodbye.